Hi guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Golden Key. This is the English version of my video Back to Ancestrality because some of you asked me about it on IG, so here I am with pleasure. And stay tuned because in the next video I will explain to you step by step how to apply the method. So let's go!
I prefer to use software that speaks for me for two reasons. The first is that I have 3 children who scream all the time, and the second is that I have no one to practice English with me at home, so I'm afraid you won't understand anything I'm telling you. No offense, but I chose South African English because there was no black woman in the list for American English. Before starting, I have to explain some things to you, maybe refresh the memory of those who already know why we are here today, or in any case teach you why the ancestral method is not such a bad idea. If you are black or mixed, whether you were born on the African continent or not, your ancestors appeared in the Kush area or kamethic Nubian area. Just like mine's. Under a high temperature and without external protection, namely, other than natural, we have been designed to withstand it. Melanin to protect our skin, brown eyes, and the texture of our hair to protect our scalp from the sun. Since the beginning in Imhotep ways, everything was sacred. And on the flesh and soul of the hidden sun, Afro, they learned to combine and unite the elements of earth, fire, air, water, and spirit. They learned to work with the natural resources around them, to care of their skin and hair. I say work and not use because we doesn't use a friend. At some point and until today, they were very attached to their appearances and their hygiene. Hygiene according to their term. For example, to ward off certain insects or to protect themselves from high heat, some of them put clay on them. So there was nothing except oils, clay, animal fat, water, cactus and butters. Back in the day they also used herbal plants. The hairstyles were extremely elaborate and sophisticated. They had no difficulty combing their hair. It wasn't just anyone who could do your hair. There was an instruction for each field, a know-how transmitted orally and with practice, and those who could style hair in a technical way, not like today, were even considered as mathematicians. Again, today it is rare to find someone who could accurately reproduce this kind of hairstyle, except maybe in Ethiopia or maybe the tribes that have been spared by what is called modern life, because we have lost this know-how over the centuries. Hairstyles weren't just art and ornaments. They were more than that: their identity, marital status, if you became a man, their spirituality, and tribes, their social status, like royalty, commoner, sage, etc. Then, the arrival of teenagers in the history of mankind, aka Western foreigners, turned everything upside down. You already know the story. Over the centuries, the explorer has become a colonizer, comes back with everything he learned before and stole as an explorer, so that everything belongs to him this time. Over the centuries, the 42 rules of Mott have become 10 commandments. The elder and chief of the village who was wise is a crazy old man. Our huge roads and buildings are no longer ours or doesn't exist in the books. We know many languages but we need instructions. We have built pyramids but we don't know the math. Healers are voodoo sorcerers. Women are no longer sacred but objects that must be covered. Patriarchy comes out of its cold country. Slavery made its appearance and the consequences were devastating until today. 500 years later, we bear the scars of this dark period. For our ancestors to lose their identity, they forced them to cut their hair so they cannot recognize who is king, soldier, princess, from what tribe, and if you are married or not, etc. Then we must not forget the fact that for months they were piled up in the holds of the boats without being able to wash. Some were seasick, so there was a mixture of smells of urine, saddle, vomit that got into their hair. Of course, because of that, they said as an excuse to reinforce the statute of animal, that Afro hair is dirty. I am Caribbean, my childhood was rocked by this kind of vocabulary to describe Afro hair when it is long, it's dirty, especially for boys. They named them by a negative term with the word kinky. The French word is cripou in English, which basically meant the wool of sheep, and when we talk about two women who crimp their bun in French, it's not with the hair combed and smooth that the fight ends. I use the word Afro, but those who continue to use frizzy must do so in conscience and with pride and positivity. In 1786 we were too attractive, white women felt threatened, that's when the law Tignan was created, to force us to hide our hair. But as you know, we were used to making the best of a bad situation. In short, after having stolen from us, after having baptized our motherland Africa, colonized, demonized and deported to places where we no longer had access to our resources to take care of our hair and our skin, after having forced us to forgetting, after making sure we don't like each other and putting us down. After having made us believe that to be accepted you had to fit into the mold of straight hair, because the majority decided that the valid standard of beauty was light skin, thinness, and straight hair, to have a job, a place to live and a spot to eat in a restaurant. After we were forced to forget how great we were, how smart and capable of great things. After forcing us to hate each other in our community in order to forget that, the more we are united, the stronger and more powerful we are. And, I think the tragedy of Black Wall Street is a good illustration of how you get out of it, when you start consuming black. After completely forgetting that they had learned about hygiene from the Moors who visited Europe before slavery, they decided that they were alone, superior, and in the majority. Therefore, they did not think of us, they thought of their skin and their hair. We were made to believe that detergents were good for us. It's not entirely our fault because the brain believes everything it is told. By repeating things we end up believing them to be limited thoughts. We can also blame the lack of sun and the pollutants that we absorb more quickly because of the color of our beautiful skin. Thanks to the universe today we can learn a little more truth about our history from books made by us, for us. At school, national education teaches us our existence from slavery. On my island they made sure that we are downright angry with our compatriots for supposedly having sold us. It's very wrong, or at least, it's taken out of context. On the other hand, as Dr. Sebi said, despite the fact that we are no longer at home and weakened by the poisons of Western countries, we have nevertheless accomplished great things. On this positive note, I present to you a diagram that explains to you why it is not such a bad idea to use the kamethic method. We are all born with perfect skin and hair, it's balance. Growing up, nature makes us move away from this balance. Whites and Asians will have oily skin and hair, and black people tend to have dry skin and hair. To return to balance, whites and Asians will use detergents. These products will remove the fatty layer without damaging the skin up to a point for a while, then re-grease again until the next wash. Blacks, when they use these products intended for oily skin, will move further away from this balance and then compensate with creams. But that's not all. What you mistake for dirt in the shower pan or tub is nothing but your skin. How about that? It's the same with hair. Search your photos and memory, you will find that no black child is born with kinky hair. They are either wavy, smooth or curly. Moreover, 2 in 10 whites are born with straight hair. By dint of using products intended for oily hair, over time the curl, texture, of our hair tightens and becomes more and more dry and small. We have a skin and hair renewal quota, 25 cycles. By dint of using unsuitable products, we accelerate our cycles and we find ourselves bald at 30, with wrinkles earlier than our elders, who had wrinkles from 85 years old. Darker crusts on the elbows, for example, form a defense system against the attacks that we inflict on it. This may sound silly, but it turns out that many oils have lipotropics. This means that they capture fatty substances and dust. This is the reason why it is often found in the composition of soaps. It removes impurities without the detergent side. And isn't it olive oil that we recommend to remove makeup, even waterproof ladies? The terms we use like co-wash, wash and go, pre-poo, no poo, big poo, I'm kidding, but those terms are very recent and very modern. In the 1970s there was nothing natural about Afro cuts. I don't know if you knew about the fixing sprays my parents did, and it was full of chemicals to create this famous haircut, which was a sign of rebellion and no submission. Therefore, starting from this picture and this logic, shrinkage as we know it doesn't exist. Let's talk about hair classification. It's bullshit. Why? Because you can have several textures and several porosities on a single hair. Everything will also depend on your environment and what you have eaten or put in your hair. I said earlier in the picture it's your skin you're ripping off, and the skeptics will say it's dead skin off. The skin renews itself every 21 to 28 days, and in cases where there is more desquamation is that there is an aggression, like when you peel after a sunburn. I don't agree with accelerating the process of skin regeneration, and I think that's also why we have wrinkles sooner. If you put a white woman and a black woman in a room for 3 days without doing anything, neither cleaning, nor cooking, nothing. And that after 3 days they wash with a normal soap containing detergent. When you look at the water in the white one, the water is slightly dirty, and when you look at the water in the black one, the water is slightly brown when she did nothing. It was his skin. I did not use my loofah for 3 months, and the day I took one the water was not black or brown. I was like, what? The result for me is without a peel I no longer have dark elbows, knees, my yoni either. I no longer need to put on cream after the shower, and I save money. My children wash with oil, and as soon as they take another soap with detergent their skin tingles. Do you know what we have kept from this period? Baby massage. Yeah, this is good news. And do you know why sometimes your baby cry when you bathe him? It's because of the soap that contains the detergent that attacks her perfect skin. By the way, if we move away a little, the Tahitians, for example, have managed to maintain their hair texture by using oils, like our ancestors. My hair doesn't shrink anymore like before. My hair is much better than before, and it's not only thanks to the oil. I touch them less, so they are long, but I noticed that they need sun and humidity in them. I seem to drink a lot and eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. Routine. I'm going to tell you a secret that comes from my analysis. Logically, if we are fragile because of our new diet and our way of life, we will regain our performance by eating what our ancestors ate. And logically, the more we are going to get closer to the resources of the countries of Kemet, and I am talking about oils and butters and medicinal plants, the more effective they will be on our skin and our hair. I'm not telling you to go for animal fat, that wouldn't be reasonable, but think about it. Despite what we see on YouTube and elsewhere, coconut oil does not come from the continent. Coconut was introduced after the settlers, the same for peanuts, the same for sweet potatoes. So if one day you hesitate between calendula oil and baobab oil or coconut oil and nigella oil, you will know that nigella oil will give you better results. Even cocoa has been introduced after colonization, but I must admit that cocoa has proven itself. In my next videos, I will show you in detail how I take my shower with oil and how I wash my hair with oils with the Back to Ancestrality challenge. I know that psychologically change is scary. You are used to doing one thing, and as soon as something new knocks on your door, your brain reacts with fear, because he likes what he knows and what is easy. Others will say that they don't like the texture of the oil, but these are excuses and they have the right. You just have to go little by little. For example, put a little oil in your shower gel, or start with the real black soap, the one that is made in an artisanal way. You can also put after the shower on a skin that is still a little damp. It is you who decides which way you go. So this is the end of this first part, and don't believe me, just try it for a month, even a week. That's fine. Do your research, read the right book, Listen to the right person, use your common sense. Love yourself, listen to yourself, do what is right for you. I say it all the time, you don't have the same living conditions as your sister or your neighbor, you don't have the same environment or the same genetic heritage, so take the time to get to know yourself and choose what works best for you. Do not wait for the validation of the majority to know what is good for you.